And we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Bearded Men of Real Estate show. I'm Ray. This is Dan. Actually, this is the This Week in Real Estate. It used to be called the Bearded Men of Real Estate show. This Week in Real Estate, hosted by the Bearded Men of Real Estate. And if you're watching YouTube, you can see that we're both celebrating in our own way. Light side and dark side. I think it's very apropos, by the way.
I know. I think
Who's who?
Which side do you usually follow, Ray? Do you usually go light or dark?
I'm definitely a light.
Yeah, me too. But I mean, this is too good. It's a stormtrooper bobblehead that says the dark side made me do it.
Yeah. So he's got a bobblehead. I'm a little overweight, so it's natural that I would have a Yoda candy dispenser. There you go. Do or do not. There is no try. You push that button and candy comes out of him. I should get the bobblehead. It's probably healthier.
I mean, I don't know. Just candy. Are you just
celebrating today? I guess people don't know why we're celebrating today.
People better know, even if they're not Star Wars fans.
It's a national holiday. May the 4th be with you, everyone.
It's May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you.
Yeah, and then in 2 days, it's Revenge of the 6th, because after Cinco de Mayo.
That's right. After Cinco de Mayo is Revenge of the 6th.
See? You guys get it?
It's a wonderful holiday. No. Well, welcome to the show. For all of you who don't care about Star Wars, we actually have a lot of real estate news on the docket. The big question we're going to be asking throughout the day is, are real estate agents ignoring signs of the times, both in that their job may be irrelevant and that the market may be crashing around them? Are they super happy and satisfied with all this? Because if you saw our thumbnail,
it really says a lot.
Our thumbnail says a lot about what's happening, and I enjoy making these thumbnails. It's kind of just a fun part of what we get to do, and it's always like the very last thing I do, because we have all the stories in there, and then we kind of come up and say, okay, if these are all the stories today, then what should we be talking about? And so here's the thumbnail there. Bam. It's a screen grab from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and it's got me as Ferris's friend, Dan as Ferris, and then the girl.
Yeah.
Cameron. Yeah. And then the girl, do you remember the girl's name?
Sloan
is like,
come on,
dude.
She's
she's massaging her temples. She's frustrated. Me and Dan are super excited.
In all fairness, Ray was, I think this movie is 84, 85. So he was.
Is it really that old?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was 11 or 12 when it came out, and he was 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Here,
Jeremy James says it's a rebel holiday. Some of us have to work.
86. There you go. 1986. So you were 3, 4.
Yeah, I was born in 82, so I was 4. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I don't know if Ray wants to talk about it, but someone has recently entered into a new decade. Let's say, portion of their lives as of about 6 days ago.
Yeah. And I mean, we don't really have to talk about it.
I'm just saying, maybe someone you guys know fairly well that's right next to me is now 40. Just maybe, if you guys want to.
Oh, someone said we have echo in Clubhouse. Dan, I'm going to mute you. I can't mute you anymore. Why can't I mute you?
Yeah. It's weird. There you go.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, Clubhouse.
Yeah, I shouldn't.
Yeah, I turned the big
B.
I turned the big 4-0 last week. That was terrible.
And I am 5 months away from being 49. So there you go.
So old.
I know. I'm a Zoomer, right?
My brother's about to be 50. So.
Oh, there you go.
Yep. All right. So today on the docket, weekly mortgage demand, it spiked. It went up, which is crazy. If you're watching the news, you're going to be like, why? What happened? There are some people saying that we're headed to a normalized market. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about inflation and where it's happening in the U.S., because that might surprise you. So stay tuned there. Drop down in the comments. Where do you think inflation is happening most? Urban areas, suburban areas, big cities, small cities, rural areas. What's happening? It may or may not surprise you. Housing affordability races towards levels not seen since the 2006 bubble. So we about to crash?
Crash Bros are still holding on to things. They're still holding on to things.
Is it Crash Bros? Are they hanging on to something, or are we totally ignoring the signs?
I don't know. Let's discuss it on the show today.
Let's discuss it on the show today. What's up, Shawnee? I thought I had you as a mod, Shawnee. Sorry. I should have.
You did, but I removed her as a mod.
What? Kidding. You did?
Oops. Just kidding. I didn't do that, Shawnee. I didn't.
Shane's hitting us up too. What's up, Shawnee? How are you today? If you're wondering who we're talking to.
Can you hear?
Yeah, we can hear you. We're on Clubhouse. So there's the live look at the Clubhouse group.
Right. I was just thinking about, the Fed meeting and, stocks, took a plunge again today.
Yeah.
And it's so time that you said that mortgage applications are up.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? What's going to happen on the Fed meeting today?
Yeah. They are. And you look at the stock market right now.
We'll have to do the a live look in. Usually they release it right after the show. They wait on our show to be done.
Yeah. We have so much influence.
That's right.
That they don't want to be influenced.
You think it's going to go 0.5%?
That's what they announced it was.
Did they already announce it?
I believe. I mean, it could be wrong. Don't get. I think that's what I read.
We already have breaking news. This is the earliest that they've released.
Well, no. The talk is the 0.5%.
Oh, the talk is the 0.5%. Okay.
Yeah, the Fed is expected to raise rates by 0.5 point. Investors wonder if.
Yeah, everybody keep your eye on the prize today.
This one says the Fed's aggressive hiking campaign, which I would think would be about getting outdoors more, but it's not.
Football, really.
A hiking campaign will lead to a recession, according to CNBC's survey. They surveyed 2,000 people out of the 320 million in America, and those 2,000 people think that it's going to lead towards a recession.
Chavez and the
isn't that what it always does? Though I thought what I've always been told is it's a necessary evil. When you have interest rates, when you have interest rates going up, that the purpose of that is to curb inflation, and then the result, unfortunately, is a recession. That's just what is known. That's what I've always thought.
Whenever we get to that part in some of these articles, I think the first one, I'll kind of go over the Fed's got like a 4-part goal, but really 2 parts is kind of what makes up this control. Speaking of control, Matt's really he wants in. He's like begging people to mod him over here. And he said, I'm here, so let's start over. So let's just start over. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of. Okay.
Hi, Dan.
So Mike says the recession has begun. Rawl, he says, I would think that inflation would impact rural areas. Urban areas would be impacted as rent increases. Okay, well, yeah, put your bets there. Yeah. D says, hey, D.
Keep going.
If you guys are watching this on YouTube, y'all can drop this stuff in the comments and we could display your comment and talk about you, or we could talk about your comments. We really appreciate it when you guys do that. A lot of fun stuff happens in the comments, so drop into there, argue amongst yourselves, and a lot of times we'll put it on the podcast. You can also comment on Facebook, just like Rawl did, and then we could display that so everyone knows what you said.
And you can comment on Clubhouse, which last week Ray chastised me for getting to too late. Just kidding.
Too late. He was too late in the game. We had to do like a whole recap at the end. So this time, Dan is going to be watching.
It's right now. So there's a cash man says, as a new homeowner with current mortgage rate of 3.25, should I be worried? No, you're in a great spot. Peggy talked about the feedback that we fixed. Parth, what crashed the news is rate of home appreciation increasing, slowing down to low percentage increase. And that too depends on the market.
What crash? Oh, okay. That's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
I'm glad you asked, Parth.
And then Deborah Adimi from Las Vegas wants everyone to be nice to Matt. Is he Matt?
No.
Yeah.
What?
No, we're not doing that. Hi, Matt. He spells his own name wrong. His name is Matt Malarsh, but he spells it LaMarche. So weird.
What's up, Justin? Justin's here. We haven't even talked about zombies yet.
And then James Moravec, hopefully I'm saying your names right, says, hello, everyone. Is anyone worried about 3D printed homes? Florida just gave license to print homes here. I think that's amazing. Don't you, Ray?
Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about 3D printed homes for a long time.
2.5 years.
There's a mishap with that, too.
With a 3D printed home? What do you mean?
Yeah. One of somebody that she's not here right now, but she's on the app. She was telling a story about in Washington, D.C., there was a mishap about these 3D printed homes, the construction, major flaws. Just a side note. I'll see if I can find the article, but yeah.
Interesting. That's what happens when you print your 3D home and there's a major flaw.
Yeah, I mean,
Pete Thorpe's being called out. You guys gotta. What'd you say? It has to be reprint. It's a reprint.
You just do a reprint. It's just a new copy. Just tear that one down, do a reprint.
Pete Thorpe's being called out. You guys got to tag him, bring him in here. Team YouTube. There's a lot of hashtag Team YouTubes. All right, so
well, there's Dan, also what Matt says. There's also Team Better on YouTube.
Better YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah. You know those keyboard. What are they called? Keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
The trolls like Matt don't have time to spell check.
Yeah, well, he gets so amped up about I got to make this comment, and he can't even spell YouTube.
Welcome, Justin Conoco, our Canadian friend, is here. We've got more than one Canadian friend, but he's the regular.
He's the one that's into zombies.
Yeah.
Do you another question for the group? So you just want me to go to these randomly throughout the show?
No, I know. Don't go to them. They got to make sense, kind of, with the articles and what we're talking about, I think.
Well, so here's a question. Do you predict the stock market or to crash this year? If so, how do you think it correlates to real estate agents given the lack of inventory?
So a crash is more than a 10% correction? I would say no.
More than, right? That's the stock market.
Right. I would say no on that.
Yeah, no. Yeah, Matt can hang. He's good. All right.
So before we get into this stuff, because we're already having a good discussion, and this is technically just the banter.
Still the banter.
Which, if you hate the banter, you could go down to the description and you'll find timestamps and stuff to fast forward and get out of that stuff.
So if you're angry right now watching on YouTube live, you're gonna have to wait for the replay. We'll put in the timestamps and stuff. We'll give you a way around it.
That's right.
What kind of show is this?
So if you're wondering what kind of show this is, then Dan, could you tell them what we're actually all about before we get into these headlines?
I'd love to. Now, when Ray and I met here on the interwebs before 3D printed homes ran out of printer ink. Is it ink? Is it printer ink? I don't think it's ink.
Cement.
I think it's just concrete. It's a new way to lay concrete is really all it is.
Cement.
But there you go, Melissa. Banter or GTFO. I had an idea for a show because I am, in fact, a bearded man in real estate. And when I met Ray, I noticed something very interesting about him.
What's that, Daniel?
You know that he's always loved his gap and has never tried to correct it.
So there's a story about this.
There is.
So, yeah.
And I know this story, but I wanted to.
You did? I didn't know you knew this.
Yeah.
So when I was growing up, my dad made a lot of decisions that were like, if you were a girl, we do this, but you're a boy. For instance, I was on a deer stand, like cinching a chain to a tree to hold up this deer stand, and the cincher came back and hit me in my eye. Like, I think it's this eye, actually. I'm looking for this scar. So it hit me in my eye, and instantly, just like blood and all that stuff. So my dad gets a napkin or something, is like blotting my open gash wound in my face.
Like, you're gonna be fine. It's good.
Yeah, and he said, well, if you were a girl, we'd take you to get a stitch, but you're a boy, so you'll be fine. And they named that stand the Red Eye. So one of those decisions, they were like, well, if you were a girl, we'd get you braces, but you're a boy, you'll be fine. And this is really funny. And the doctors were all like, oh, well, you got plenty of space. As your teeth come in, as your back, they're going to push all that forward and you won't even have a gap. Well, they were wrong. So now I always see it, but people tell me they don't even notice. But like Dave Letterman, Madonna, it looks like to me you could drive a car through a tunnel in their teeth, and I feel like everyone notices. But supposedly, there are people that are told Dave Letterman has a gap, and there are people like, what, really, he does?
Right?
Like, seriously, you didn't notice this? Like, I
don't really notice.
Time. So
I just think it's
drop in the comments. Have you ever noticed the guy? I could do some fun things like whistle. I can whistle without much. I can squirt water really far. So it's got some functions.
It gives you inhuman talents, but
superhuman, I would say.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Julie Moon has never noticed.
That was to make you the cool white version of Michael Strahan.
The cool version. Yeah, Michael Strahan, a fellow Gapper. Yeah. The cool white version of Michael Strahan. I love that. Julie Moon has never noticed until right now. Really?
Mike has a good story.
No, I'm not gonna, oh my gosh. I'm not gonna read that, Mike. I'll put
he
it
had
on
an unfortunate upper body injury that
the nurse
said, you're
Melissa Mara said the Michael Strahan of real estate. Does that mean that Dan is Kathy Lee Gifford?
Yeah. I'm into that. I'm down.
Or Kelly Ripa. I think Dan is the Kelly Ripa of real estate.
No, that's a different.
Isn't that the same show? It went to
it's Strahan Kelly and Ripa, Ryan right? Now. That used to be Regis and Kathy Lee.
Yeah, but who is it now? I don't keep up with that stuff.
I don't know, man. I don't know, but there's a whole separate conversation that's about to happen.
Ryan Seacrest. Melissa Mara says Ryan Seacrest. All right.
Yeah. I'll take Ryan Seacrest. By the way, do you guys know how old Ryan Seacrest is?
56.
Like, yes. Right?
I don't know.
No. Ray,
I'm only guessing because it's crazy.
He knee-jerked 56. Anyone else? How do you think? Don't look it up. How old do you think? Comment or let us know in club. How old do you think?
No, I actually think he's probably like 43. But that's
Ryan Seacrest is.
University of
that's
Georgia.
What's wrong with him. He went to the University of Georgia.
Yeah, that can cause problems.
He's not 44.
My real guess is 43, but we'll see. All right. So anyway, Dan, sorry, I distracted from your story about what you noticed.
No. We're good. This is part of the banter that everyone hates or loves. I don't know. It's much maligned banter, but it's one of my favorite qualities about Ray, and not a lot of people talk about it, or maybe they don't notice it until just now. So anyway, but I obviously know he's a beautifully bearded man, and I noticed also that he loves to give value upfront to not only his clients but just to humans in general. So the show is about being more as an agent, but also being more as a stormtrooper.
Yeah, and one of the reasons we do this show is so that you guys can give back to your clients and be informed and know what is going on in the world. We wanted to create one space for you to come, get the news, get the headlines, have a little fun with some banter, and then get on about your day.
Or get angry about the banter.
Or get angry about the banter and leave.
Tango down.
Whoa.
That's fine too.
Whoa. Hold on.
What is that noise?
Whoa. Hold on.
It sounds like is someone in your house watching our show while we have the show? Someone in Dan's house. This is how we get views. We put all the computers on the show during the show so that we get additional views.
Yeah, now you guys know that I have 87 computers hooked up, that one of them started talking to me.
Someone at Dan's house is watching the show. That's great. Okay. Dan, you ready to get in these headlines? We need to do it.
Absolutely.
Let's go. All right.
What kind of show is this?
What kind of show is this?
It's one of my favorite audios.
So good. We have some super shareable with your client articles today, so you guys need to pay attention.
Yeah, I think this would be good information especially like for a little Facebook post or
a little
quick hit on your Instagram stories or something like that. And here we are. Weekly mortgage demand rose for the first week since early March. Well, as you guys know, we've been covering on the show every week. We seem to have a story or an article about mortgage demand. And most of the time we're like, hey, mortgage demand is now going down. It's now going down. It's now going down. Purchase applications are still, minimally going up. But most of the mortgage demand, especially for refis, are going down. And it's going down big time. I think last week it was down 50%. Week before that was down 60%. Well, this story comes to us today and says weekly mortgage demand rose for the first time since early March. What? And then the end of this says, but it won't last.
It's so ominous.
Yeah. All right. So
fools.
A brief calm in the midst of rising interest rates. Storm boosted weekly mortgage demand ever so slightly last week.
He's reading in his movie announcer voice.
But it's unlikely to be the start of a new trend. So that's I guess that's like suspense voiced. It would be different if it was a rom-com. But rates have already moved up sharply.
Rom-com.
Yeah, more goofy. Total mortgage application volume rose 2.5%. 2.5% for the week ending April 29th compared to the previous week, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association seasonally adjusted index. That was because mortgage rates took a very slight step back. So if you guys were noticing, or if you were talking to lenders, then your lender may have reached out to you and said, hey, did you notice mortgage rates are down? Apply now. And everyone that was thinking about a refi did that. They applied right then. And so you had a huge increase of mortgage applications coming through, mainly for refis. So few borrowers who would benefit from the refinance took their chance refinance application. Oh, it only rose 0.2%, but it was not. So this is where it's kind of confusing. It sounds like it only rose 0.2%. So it really wasn't that high, but yet it was still way up from the 70% drop, 60% drop, 50% drop that we've been experiencing.
Right.
So refinance mortgage activity decreased only 33.9% of total applications from the previous week. Mortgage applications to purchase, they rose 4%. So they actually did go up a little bit, but they were still down 11% year over year. Home buyers are now turning to adjustable rate mortgages, which we did talk about last week. The volume of the ARM is up compared to 3 weeks ago, but it's unchanged compared to last week. So 9.3% of total applications were adjustable rate mortgages. The quote from Joel Kahn, he's a Mortgage Bankers Association economist. He said the purchase market remains challenged by low levels of housing inventory and rapid home price gains, as well as the affordability hit from higher mortgage rates that are forcing prospective buyers to factor in higher monthly payments. We hit on that a little bit last week too, just in the monthly payment calculations, and the cost of owning a home has gone up pretty significantly recently.
I think it says it in here, maybe in one of the other articles. Did it say $1,800 or so is now?
Yeah.
I think it's one of the future articles is what where that one says.
Yeah. So it appears that the spike was temporary. Wasn't even that much of a spike. It was just that basically refinance applications, because of the rates going down temporarily, they didn't plummet like they had in previous weeks.
Well, and then they say, but it won't last, and it sounds ominous. But the Fed is announcing, a rate hike. So,
yeah, of 50 basis points.
Yeah.
And then Mara says the OMG, I have to get it now before it gets worse. Yeah. And I would suggest all of you do what Julie Moon is doing. She says I put it on the Mac and the iPad. Talking about our show. That's great. That's 2 views. You always want to stay also longer than like 30 seconds. If you
got to give us that view time. That's what gets the algorithm going. Yeah.
That's really, why would we ask for that, Dan? Well, we ask for that because if you do that, then more people will see it, because YouTube is like, oh, this show might be good.
There's
and so YouTube puts it in front of more people. By YouTube putting it in front of more people, we get more D Jones just said, we get more conversations, just like D Jones jumping in and says, holy crud, 50 basis points. Yeah. That's what that's the prediction, but we haven't seen it yet. Everybody keep your eyes peeled for the article coming out during the show today.
And I do have to let's see. We're not on the article yet. Sorry, I'm ahead one article.
Oh yeah. We're gonna be.
I have some good stuff, but if you guys are on your computer, your laptops right now, not only add us, just watch us on as many laptops and devices as possible, but also
all the devices in the house.
But I don't know if you can ask. Can you ask for that? Does that kill the?
I don't
know how the algorithm works. I don't really care. No. Anyway, but do a quick search. What's your area doing? What kind of market are you seeing? Because we're about to switch gears, I think.
Yeah. So, and with this, I want to have a deeper discussion, especially with the folks on Clubhouse, as we get into this more. What's up, Julie? Julie Mozina just also joined the Clubhouse. Thanks for joining Clubhouse, Julie. Okay, so
you want to know a fun fact?
What's that?
Her last name means danger.
Like Stewart?
Stewart is just a little bit off, but her name actually means danger.
Stewart? All right, a more normalized housing market is on the horizon, says the National Association of Realtors. For the 5th consecutive month, pending home sales declined in March. It's down 1.2%, signaling a potential return to much calmer conditions, according to the National Association of Realtors. Only the Northeast region saw an increase in pending sales in March and February, according to NAR. Well, there you go. That's up in your neck of the woods, Melissa Mara.
Yeah.
Lawrence Yoon, he's the National Association of Realtors chief economist. He says that multiple offers will soon dissipate and be replaced by much calmer and normalized market conditions. Is this good, or is this the NAR totally ignoring that we're all about to crash and burn? Yoon forecasts the 30-year fixed mortgage rate will reach 5.3% by the fourth quarter, resulting in a 2022 mortgage rate average of 4.9%. Here's another quote from him, then we could discuss more. He says, as it stands, sudden large gains in mortgage rates have reduced the pool of eligible home buyers, and that has consequently lowered buying activity. The aspiration to purchase a home remains, but the financial capacity has become a major limiting factor. Affordability, isn't that the financial capacity to purchase?
Yeah, I think that's the definition.
In that affordability. Yeah. So are you seeing this in your market as well, Dan? Are you starting to see a return to normalization? Are you seeing fewer multiple offer situations? What's the status over there in Cali? I think there is a mass exodus. We can all agree.
Yeah. It's been happening for years.
Right. So I'm sure you're turning it into the next Detroit already, where you can't give away a home.
Yeah, I can't give away a house right now at all. They're just, average days on market are up to 18. It's crazy.
Wow.
But
really letting yourself go.
Well, remember, I've said it on the show a lot about Rancho and surrounding areas. I live in Rancho Cucamonga, California, which is northeast from like downtown LA, if you know California, Southern California at all. We were at what did I get down to? 10, 11, 12 days of inventory.
Yeah.
Right now, my cats are playing with a paper bag in the background, by the way. So if you hear a little rustling, there you go. But right now we're at 37 days of inventory. How rad is that? To me, that's a good thing, because I hear.
Well, that's so funny, because you're like, oh, that's a good thing. I'm like, wow, that's low. Just depends on the market you're in, right?
Right. For me, that's amazing. That's over a month worth of inventory. We've been critically low, dangerously low.
You've got to use it.
I got to get it in there somewhere. For a long time, for a year and a half, 2 years, we've been dangerously low for a long time. So to be up over a month of inventory will hopefully slow things down a little bit. I think we have an article saying, offers being submitted after so long. Hopefully that'll slow things down a little bit, because here's my concern right now. The sellers who have waited, right?
Yeah.
I can get top dollar, but prices are so high. Now, if we're on the top of the mountain, we start going back down, they're also going to be affected on their listing, right? For when they sell.
Yeah.
So
when they sail,
I know. Is that a thing?
You got Arkansas in you there.
Well, I mean, I do.
When they sail, they're home.
Yeah,
when they back on the back end.
When they sail their homestead. I don't know. Is that Arkansas, or is
Georgian?
That more Texas?
That's more Julie Moon sounds like that.
But anyway, that's going to affect them. And I literally had a seller respond this morning. I said, hey, what is the plan? Is it still to sell your house and they're moving to Georgia? Is that still the plan? And they said, well, my lender said I got to wait till October because she has a job, where she'll be there for that'll be 2 years for her.
Yeah.
So that's more of a condition than an objection, right? If you're talking behind the scenes real estate. But she added on a little thing at the end, which is home prices are still just too high. And I was like, well, I understand that, but they're also high for your listing, which in your neighborhood where she lives could be affected if they come down, could be affected more than other areas. So isn't now a good time to kind of capitalize on that?
Man, that would be a perfect segue into a story, a couple of stories away. So we're going to get to this, but the article headline says we're in a historically overvalued market, and these cities should see home prices drop by 10%. That's what Moody says.
Right.
So our price is going to drop? Or is that actually what we're going to see?
Is it going to go into a full correction market? The 10%.
All right. So this is a live look at the Little Rock market. I use Altos, by the way, ALTOS. If somebody wants that, reach out to me. I think I got a deal code for you. But the median list price in our market is still 275. But when you do the math on that, it's actually down about 3% compared to what it was last year. Yeah, last year the median 7-day average was 284. Now it's currently 275.
So people that have waited have lost 3%.
Well, so this is where the numbers get hairy, and this is why everyone looks at this, which I'm glad you brought this up, Dan. People are looking at this saying, well, doesn't that mean that my home value has now decreased? If you look at the 90-day average, I mean, let's do that math to get people more riled up about it. Yeah. 270,000, and now it is 231,000. So you could see that if you had a home that was worth 270,000 a year ago, it is now worth 231,000. Is that how you do the math? No.
Right.
So medians and averages don't quite work like that. It's not what that means in the marketplace. It's just telling you what is actually selling. So a median specifically is a number that's in the middle of the market. So if we have a number like that is in the middle of the market and that number goes down, then you can assume that the number of homes that are on the bottom 1/3 of the market has increased. So we're actually seeing more transactions in the bottom 1/3 of the market now than we are in the top 1/3 of the market.
But does that mean my home is now in the bottom 1/3 of the market?
No, it does not adjust your home's value. As a matter of fact, we have an article that we'll cover in a little bit that says that maybe the market's not really normalizing, or maybe as it normalizes, the home prices are still actually tracking up. And we'll get to that. That's the Fortune article that we'll cover.
And that's what I wanted to ask. Like, what does normalization mean? Does it mean 4 to 6 months of inventory? Does it mean, higher interest rates, less buyers in the market, but, longer days on market? What does normalization mean?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a numbers based. Here's what the numbers say normalization is. But what does that mean to everyone's market? It's going to be different for me.
What does that mean to the actual consumer?
And what does it mean to the consumer? I'm happy about 37 days of inventory in Rancho because it's been crazy, dangerously low for a long time. So for me, it's a good thing. But this article, I'm going to get out to all my potential sellers and say, look, if we're at that, like I just said, if we're at that top of that hill, we should consider selling now. Also, interest rates are supposed to go up today and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot to get out to your sellers that are also purchasing right now.
Adam Johnson says, even if they drop by 10%, won't they be up for the year? Yes, that is true. And we'll talk about specifically what a price drop means.
People that aren't selling, they're not going to sell. They're going to stay in their house for another 20 or 30 years. They're like, okay, well, it's still up from when I bought it.
Yeah, Adam says we might just be seeing less high-end homes and not more lower homes. Yeah, that's true too. Number of transactions are lower. Might just be seeing less high-end listings. That's true. Matt Lamar says the median is the middle number in sorted ascending and descending list of numbers. Thank you.
Doesn't that change based on ascending or descending, Matt?
No, the middle is the middle. No. All right. So I was in a really good room with Shane, who's in our clubhouse right now. I guess this was about 2 weeks ago. I may have referred to this last week. I can't remember. But someone brought up a really good point, and it may have been Shane talking about this, where, as things change in the marketplace, as the housing market seems to normalize because you have fewer buyers entering the market, it might be an adjustment in the financing types. Like right now, we all know as real estate agents, whether it should or shouldn't is another story. But conventional and cash offers are beating FHA government loan offers, right? So that has forced a lot of the FHA and folks with government loans kind of to the sidelines temporarily. So we might not see a shift in the buyer demand as fewer buyers are willing to make the cash offers and conventional offers, but we might see a shift in the buyer type. We might see a shift where you have more FHA offers being accepted, VA offers being accepted, RD, because there's less competition for the all cash and conventional offers. And that would essentially be good for the market, I think. I mean, it's good for people to own homes, in my opinion. Yeah. And so I would love to see that, but I don't know that we'll see.
Yeah, I can offer some insight on that if you want.
Yes. I don't think we'll see people, paying a buyer's closing costs this year. Shane, go ahead, man. What's your 2 cents on it?
So in combination with Bird, Dream Team, even listening to your stages, Savannah stages, I've been taking a pretty thorough survey of what this looks like anecdotally across the different markets. And so right now there's about 5 different categories in the MSAs. And so as of like 6 months ago, the bottom two MSA categories, so like the bottom, let's just say like you have a hot MSA, okay, you have a kind of a pretty hot MSA, then you have like a moderately hot MSA, and then you have the ones that are they're moderate and then not even doing well. Because people don't realize there's MSAs across the country that haven't really done well during Corona.
Yeah.
Well, about 6 months ago, that middle third really started seeing that, like being able to accept VA and FHA buyers little by little, and it really accelerated over the next quarter. And about just about 6 to 8 weeks ago, even some of the hot markets started seeing that, and now everybody's seeing that. I think the interest rate situation, slowing down, have been the biggest factors.
The interest rates. Say that last part again.
So interest rates have pushed, that buyer that was, in that place to buy out of, in many cases that they were already at the top of their buying situation. And that kind of pushed some buyers out of that place. You also had equity rich capital coming. So a lot of people moving from California, going to Georgia, they're taking advantage of, all that appreciation and equity they've had, and they're able to impose their will upon that lesser market. But with that slowing down, interest rates going up, those are two more things that are dramatically, like I've seen this in the last 3 weeks, both anecdotally, offline and online, come to a screeching, massive slowdown, even in the hottest markets.
Yeah, that's really interesting to see that more. We haven't noticed a gigantic shift, but maybe a slight shift. So instead of 20 offers on a house, maybe we're getting 15 or 10, and that's been the shift. You could say that's gigantic, but I also can't figure out if that's buyers adjusting their expectations or if that's buyers pulling out due to affordability. And I don't know the answer to that question yet. It seems like before the rates started to increase, we were already seeing some pullback in the number of offers. And I want to think that was due to the education of buyers, knowing that hey, if you're at the very top of your search criteria range and you're putting in an offer for list price, you're probably not going to get that offer. So I think a lot of people just pulled back and maybe started looking lower and offering more. But that's really interesting, Shane. Thanks for sharing. What's up, Shawnee?
Hey, I just wanted to share with you on that same note. Here's my thought. Since I'm somebody who works a lot with leasing, I have a lot of buy and hold investors, and I work a lot with that, with rental listings and just renewals. A lot of people re-sign their leases, and people who would normally go month to month, because now month to month, it could be sometimes a $500 increase, and it's a huge increase because of the shortage of rentals. I mean, what I'm seeing in rentals is crazy. So a lot of my personal clients that were looking, they actually just said, okay, we have to re-sign. We don't want to pay $500 more a month, for who knows how long. So I think that's part of it too. People just having if they were not in a home already. Just my thought.
Yeah. Raul says buyer affordability and buyer fatigue. It kind of echoes what you're saying, Shawnee, too.
And then the other thing about that, Ray, is that what we have to see is what winds down is, what about all the VA FHA buyers that gave up last year and the year before and just signed leases?
Yeah.
Their leases are gonna expire, and they will probably be the last those that we are able to see that are buying. As far as when we're at the last leg of slowing down wherever we're at in the country, that's who we're gonna see coming in to buy last. Yeah,
I agree. All right, we're talking about housing affordability, so let's get into this article about it. Okay, so this one comes to us from Inman. Housing affordability races towards levels not seen since the 2006 bubble.
Dun, dun,
dun, dun, dun. They love using the bubble word.
Yeah. And they actually put for those of you watching or listening on Clubhouse, they actually put a bubble in the headline pick, in the title pick.
Yeah, it's good. Good.
Interesting, Inman. Interesting.
With soaring home prices and mortgage rates pushing affordability levels not seen since 2006 housing bubble, borrowers are increasingly turning to adjustable rate mortgages or paying points to buy down their interest rate. That's according to Black Knight Technologies. In its latest monthly mortgage monitor report, Black Knight warned that if mortgage rates rise by another 0.5 percentage point, which is exactly why we're talking about this now, because that may happen, or if home prices go up another 5%, affordability will hit the worst levels on record. So it's one of the two. It's not both. So if mortgage rates rise by another 0.5 percentage point, which is supposedly I know it's just I'm going to tell Ron and Tony, my mortgage guys that are listening to this. I know it's not exactly, I know the mortgage rate that they're going to talk about raising it today doesn't directly impact. I know that, but that makes mortgage people happy if I mention that it's not directly related, but we could see rates go up. So Black Knight warned that if mortgage rates rise by another 0.5 percentage point, or if home prices go up another 5%, affordability will hit the worst levels on record. There's a nice chart in here that shows the national payment to income ratio.
This one has lots of charts on it.
Yeah. The kind of, why'd they make these lines so similar to just the teal line is payment to income ratio, and the green line is the 30-year fixed interest rate axis. So currently it's 31.2% of
payment to income.
Yeah, payment to income. That's pretty bad. In July of 2006, they're using the data now to kind of show you when they last experienced this. In July of 2006, on the eve of the housing crash, 2007 and 09 recession, the national PMI hit an all-time high of 34.1%. We are currently at 31.2%. With home prices up 19.9% from a year ago in March, and mortgage rates well above 5%, PMI hit 32.5% as of April 21st. So there's a ton of data on this. It's a really good article, actually, and you should check it out on Inman. Another good chart they have that we've already talked about is this armchair of purchase rate locks by volume. So this is the adjustable rate mortgage.
These are the quotes and stuff. This is what I pulled from the article. It's most interesting because this is what I would look at in regards to what ties us back to the crash of 15 years ago, because that's what ultimately killed everything, right? People got in. First of all, they couldn't afford their mortgages in the first place. But then when they adjusted 5 years later,
yeah, well, that and the whole subprime thing. But go ahead.
Right. That's what I meant by can't afford. They couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
Subprime, not great loans. And then everything adjusted to whatever the rates were at. And people's payments went from somewhat affordable to, oh my God, I can't afford this. So that's another question is, are we ignoring the signs?
Yeah. That's the big sign of the show today. Are real estate agents solely ignoring the signs that a crash is coming? And are we just like happy-go-lucky? We're just going to sell houses either way. Or is there something actually that we need to be paying attention to? Is there a crash on the horizon?
Is there something looming in the darkness? So there's a bunch of comments on. So Trevor Bodie, is it Bodie? He says, yes, they're ignoring the signs. Pre-foreclosures are higher now than pre-Rona. Shane says, when you look at the market and technical fundamentals carefully and intelligently, I can't do either of those things. Everything is there to have a crash, and everything is there to avoid a crash. So there you go.
Thanks for taking it. That's such a great stance, Shane.
Yeah.
He's right though.
I'm becoming a politician.
Yeah, such a political answer to that question. But you're right though. But yes,
he's like, oh my God, everything's horrible, but we can fix it. I say that kind of stuff a lot.
Yeah. Raul, he's leaving us for a showing. All right, we'll see you. See you, Raul.
Thanks, Raul. For joining Thank you.
Adam Johnson said, I could currently lock a 7-year ARM for 4.2%. Huge difference in payment. I'd take that 7-year risk any day of the week. Well, we had a lot of people moving every 3 years, right? So, they would get a 5-year ARM and move in 3 years and it doesn't matter. But now the trend is different where most people are staying 7 to 10 years. So if you plan on staying 10 years, a 7-year ARM or 5-year ARM, you may see higher rates at that point, and then you're kind of screwed. Or you have to refi out of it somehow.
So the Adam's point about the ARM, if you go down that article a little bit more, I believe it breaks down the ARMs have stayed lower over time than the standard conventional loans.
Yeah.
So if you really read the data, it's kind of a good gamble. Who was that? Ron
Bruno was talking about it last week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Susanna says, Susanna Kunkel. She says stats on ARMs are complex. I have luxury clients using ARMs as a strategy.
Bear arms. I can't.
We have those rights.
Ray.
Yes.
Hey, it's Jen, Portland, Oregon.
Hey, Jen.
Our market is still really strong. Of course, we're still the cheapest on the West Coast, all the good stuff. We have jobs and everything. But one thing that I am noticing that gives me a little bit of pause is, can you hear me?
Yeah. We got you.
Okay. Is in the rehab space. We just can't find any properties to flip. And that's what we started seeing in 2007. So that's sort of one thing that makes me a little nervous. I was feeling really, really good, but then I sort of, when we're trying to pick up flips and so I don't know what that means yet, but makes me a little nervous.
Sounds like game over. Really? No, I'm kidding.
Well,
so
you know what that means.
I'm gonna go work at Costco.
I mean, hey,
yeah, there
they
you go.
pay, but you know what that means? You know, that means that everything is there to have a crash, but also everything is there to avoid a crash.
Yeah, that's
right.
what
that means.
To borrow a quote from Shane. So Jen, I want to know, what did you see back in the day, pre-crash, when you were having trouble finding properties to flip? What do you mean you're having trouble finding them to flip? Like they don't exist on the market, or Chip and JoJo wannabe owner occupant is outbidding your investors.
Not enough ROI. What does she mean?
Or you literally don't see anything for them to buy.
Well, I think before pre-crash, 2007, people were buying them because everybody thinks that it's easy and they can go to Home Depot and put it in a lit and make $100,000. So I think back then people were just scooping them up, so there wasn't any for us to buy. I work with a lot of wholesalers. I also have a lot of agents who will call me and tell me that they have one. So I pick up a lot of pre-market stuff, but it's just not there anymore. And I don't know if now people have so much equity in their houses, maybe they're refinancing and buying rehab to try and give it a go on their own. I'm not quite sure what it means. I'd love to hear anybody else's thoughts, maybe Shane
we actually kind of have an article on that coming up.
Yeah, let me bring that up right now, since this is your question/answer is a lovely transition right to this topic that we have perfectly, and this may be why you're not seeing it. All right, so this article is from realtor.com, Realtor Magazine, actually, realtor.org. Yeah, realtor.org.
Whatever. It's
the one we still have. We gave up the other. Homeowners are undeterred by rising cost for remodeling. So a 40-year high inflation and supply chain challenges aren't ruining homeowners' plans to spruce up their homes, finds a new survey from Nationwide of 1,000 homeowners. 71% of homeowners who have upcoming house projects say they expect to proceed with them despite the higher cost. The majority of renovating homeowners surveyed, 57%, say they're focused on repairing the wear and tear of their homes. 55% are taking on home projects that are enjoyable. 49% say they want to change something about their outdated homes. Here's a quote from Kathy Olico. She's the vice president of small commercial sales distribution at Nationwide. She said, homeowners who completed major remodels in 2021 face significant obstacles brought on by supply chain and inflation issues, such as higher material and labor costs, delayed timelines, and limited material availability. What's most surprising, though, is that the hurdles are not impacting their future remodeling plans, with 7 in 10 homeowners saying they'll proceed with the remodeling plans in 2022 anyway, but are looking for new ways to work with contractors to save on prices. So I'm wondering, the part of the reason we're bringing this up is just kind of an interesting interlude to what's happening. We knew that in 2020, during the first COVID stuff, a lot of people were doing all kinds of remodel projects around their house.
They're like, I'm staying here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to update the house myself. And I'm
be here anyway
to ride this out.
There was some thought that both Home Depot and Lowe's stock prices would plummet this year as materials have been difficult to come by, but people are still continuing with the remodels. And so that's competition in a way for the investors that are looking for the deals, because you have people doing their own remodels. But I also wonder if some of the competition is coming from the iBuyer type groups that are just purchasing the homes and putting the money into them. Jen, do you think that may be a reason? Like, maybe the properties are there, but instead of being a sign of the crash, maybe it's a sign that more people are doing more to their own homes, and you have other services that are looking to be the the iBuyer to purchase the home, then fix it up and flip it and put it back on the market. Does that make sense?
It does, and I absolutely see where you're going there, but the iBuyer thing did not go well here because our houses are so different. They're also primarily 100 years old. So they sort of, when they were purchasing these homes, they didn't take into account that the sewer line is likely, 70 years old, and there's probably an underground oil tank. All these really, really big, expensive, cost prohibitive issues. So actually they lost a lot of money on them because these are primarily seller paid repairs, obviously, and disclosable repairs.
Yeah.
So a lot of the iBuyer stuff just sat here, but I absolutely see where you could go that way. And that could be part of it. That absolutely could be part of it.
But it doesn't sound like it's enough to make a huge impact on the market that you're talking about.
They're also a small part of every market.
But RIA sentiment is a big part of this, guys.
Reassessment, like for taxes?
No, RIA sentiment, Real Estate Investor Association. Like the vibe that's going out there with the Real Estate Investor Club is that many of them are waiting for a big crash. They're sidelining capital, and they're the ones that would normally be jumping on this, and they're not jumping on it right now.
Yeah, that's true too. Interesting. Let's go to one more article to talk about kind of some inflation, what's changing in home prices here. So this one is from Moody's. We're in a historically overvalued housing market, and these cities could see home prices drop 10%, says Moody's. Again, they had the bubble. Did you see the bubble on the little? They have a video.
It's a thing. You have to do it now.
The video explainer of this is actually really good. So if you're where you can find this article, Lance Lambert, he's the one that wrote the article. This may be him in the article too, but it's actually a pretty good little explainer video that normalizes the sensational headline. A housing market slump looked to be all assured 2 years ago. At the time, it made sense. The strict state-issued lockdowns had pushed the U.S. employment rate to its highest level since the Great Depression era, and many states had banned in-person home showings. However, a housing bust didn't come to pass. The Federal Reserve has a dual mandate from Congress: maintain maximum employment and keep home prices stable, or prices stable. That's avoiding inflation. This is where I was talking about the dual mandate. And there's actually a really good YouTube video out there by this guy named Ray Ellen. And if you search Ray Ellen,
I love that guy.
He's cool. Federal Reserve, you'll see a nice explainer video about this whole thing. But basically, this dual mandate from the Fed requires the Fed to avoid inflation and keep employment high. And so back when the Fed dropped those rates to zero, which was crazy low, historically low, of course.
Yeah.
The point was to try to get people employed. Well, the more and more people that got employed, the more money that started entering back into the economy. And people were like, hey, I'm going to order some stuff because I've got money. And so now they start to put in orders for producers. Well, producers can't keep up with the orders, so they raise prices. And so now the Fed has to raise rates so that less money is going back directly to the consumer. And when they take that money back, essentially, it should make orders go down. Making those orders go down is what's going to avoid higher inflation than we already have. We already have inflation. Okay. So this story goes on. Let me show you these. Let me get back to the article here so I can show you the map. All right. How much regional home prices are overvalued by percent? And it's got a nice chart of the U.S. color-coded from yellow to purple. Yeah, it's interesting color coding. Yellow is -6% overvalued. So you can still get a good deal there. Purple, bluish purple, is 73% overvalued. And Dan is getting attacked. The microphone is getting attacked by Dan's cat. Sorry for the, if you can hear that. All right, so let me zoom in. I'm trying to zoom in on there it goes.
There you go.
All right, so as you look around, Dan, let's see, Sacramento is 24% overvalued. But then you have San Jose, which is only 2% overvalued.
Okay, keep going, keep down.
Fresno is 14%. Visalia is
Visalia.
Visalia is 14%. Bakersfield is 20% overvalued. Los Angeles and Long Beach, Anaheim is 25% overvalued. Does that seem to track? San Bernardino is 22%.
I mean, yeah.
But
is it overvalued if people pay that price?
But in Little Rock, you have a 11% overvaluation. In Pine Bluff, you have a 4% overvaluation. Jonesboro, 0%. These are cities in Arkansas.
So I have a question. Is this going to, now I don't know how nationally viewed this article will get, but will this help those, I guess, would it be the yellow orangey areas? Would that people go, oh, I can go here?
So what do you know about your
valued
Santa Rosa, for instance? Let's talk about this. This is really interesting. Santa Rosa, Petaluma, California. What do you know about Petaluma? I should have read that. My mic is right in the way there.
Right, it's okay.
So Santa Rosa, Petaluma.
Yeah,
it's 3% overvalued. So in California, it looks like the best deal. But knowing what you know about California, would you direct investors to Santa Rosa as like saying, hey, if you want a deal, here's a great deal?
I mean,
would you push
Ray,
people? Yeah.
Sorry, I grew up right there, actually.
Okay. So what do you know about this area? Is that an area where you'd say, hey, investors, if you're looking for the best deal in California, you've got to go to Santa Rosa. It's only 3% overvalued compared to 14 and 24 and 29% overvalued.
Yeah.
I would say so, but it's a whole different world from like where Andy is, for example, or where Dan is, like LA. I mean, it's Northern California. It's pretty rural.
Yeah.
It's a lot of, people who want to move out of San Francisco and raise chickens, as Petaluma is a chicken farming.
It's the Arkansas of California, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. And I know that it was the next town over. And for me, when I was growing up, there also, there's a lot of traffic coming. It's really hard to drive. Like if you work in San Francisco, there's a huge traffic problem getting all the way that far up. Like you're probably looking at 2.5 hour commute if you work in San Francisco. So that's just what I know about it. But really beautiful, but totally different than like LA or San Diego or anywhere like that.
So you wouldn't necessarily point an investor there and say, hey, here's a really good deal on property. It's more or less of saying that, hey, prices seem to be, a house seems to be worth what they're asking for in that area versus in Los Angeles, a house is, well, according to this, 25% overvalued. Like for instance, Pine Bluff. That is a city in our area. They just got a new casino there, but historically has not been like the hot spot for investors or people moving to Arkansas. They don't normally go to Pine Bluff. It's a lot of like, I think the is it the FBI? There's some kind of big federal thing there.
Well, and what kind of investors are we talking about? Flippers?
Well, even owner-occupant investors. I mean, this is like 45 minutes outside of Little Rock, right? But it's not really the hotbed of, people aren't like, ooh, I want to move there. Yeah. That's not that area.
I think it's more specifically what Jen is saying about California is more people that want to, all right, I've lived around LA my entire life. I want a slower lifestyle, and I can go there. I can sell my house for an inflated value and then go buy something that's more of a realistic, or I don't know how to say it without being overly
I think that's
dramatic.
Yeah. I mean, and in Northwest Arkansas, I would actually tell people, let me bring this map back up. Sorry. In Northwest Arkansas, I would actually tell people that some of the best investments are going to be in the Fayetteville, Springdale, Rogers area. And of all Arkansas, that's one of the most quote unquote overvalued by Fortune. Yeah. And then this bottom part, Texarkana, Arkansas, is on the border between Texas and Arkansas.
Oh, is that why they call it Texarkana?
Texarkana, yeah, it's a real creative name. There's actually a place called Texoma as well that is Texas, Arkansas, and Oklahoma.
Come on.
No, really. And
honestly,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry, guys. I was going to say that it probably would be a good investment because Petaluma is literally the next town outside of Marin County. And if y'all know California, like Marin County is one of the most expensive,
very expensive
counties.
So
Yeah,
so then it could be a good
probably.
investment, but it's like a very future investment. And it just doesn't seem to be, that's not the place that if you're moving to California, you're not like, oh, I'm headed straight to Petaluma, right?
No.
Yeah, you're not like surfs up, I'm going, surfing or skiing or anything.
Yeah, that tracks. That tracks with the types of cities that they've picked in Arkansas as being the 0 and the 4% up. That's not the areas where people are like, ooh, that's where I'm going. But you could get good affordable housing there.
But I mean, if you have a seller that's like, well, do you have any idea like where, maybe this map is helpful? Hey, if you're looking for a slower lifestyle or just you're looking to change up everything. I mean, here's a map that kind of shows you not just in California, not just in Texarkana, but all across the nation. Like, here's maybe some areas to investigate and to look into. Can you go back to the map real quick, Ray? I just want to see. So those purple areas, that's the 73%. Is that click on a couple of those?
I couldn't
more
find,
to the west though.
I was looking for one that was like really 56% is Lake Havasu City, Kingman, Arizona.
Yeah, which is, and then so it's a lot of Arizona, right?
Boise City, Idaho.
There's your 73% right there. That's where those two spots are where the mass exodus from California has. We've taken all our money and we put it in those two.
Is that really?
Yeah, a lot of. So Boise is kind of like California light, a little less liberal, but still not crazy conservative. And you can kind of a little more, a little more gun toting there, a little more Wild West there. But it's still
kind of people.
But as far as climate goes, you get 4 seasons, but it's not crazy, like a crazy departure from living in Southern California. So I think that's why it's getting a lot of traction. And then Arizona is Arizona. But I think it's interesting to see this after during where we're still in the mass exodus of California, where all of our money, or where the people that have made their money here have taken it and moved to these cities. Now things are way overinflated. I mean, 73%. And this also aligns with all those articles we read about, the most expensive cities in California. Now it's like Boise. It's not in California anymore. It's now Boise is now a crazy place to, a crazy expensive place to buy a house.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to find a nationwide crime heat map and put it in correlation with this, or put it over this and see if there's a correlation between values and crime. Because if you go to YouTube and you YouTube any city, there are people that don't even live in your city that are talking about reasons not to move there or not to live there. And one of the number one reasons, that it's like every single city in the US, it's like, oh, crime is high there. Well, compared to what? Like, so I wonder how much of this tracks with like crime rates and stuff like that. Like, is Petaluma crime ridden Californian city? And that's why it's only 3% overvalue. Or, I wonder what that is. So we'll have to do a little bit more digging. This is a good article. It's over on Fortune. I'd recommend that all real estate agents look at this, take a look at it for your state, and maybe produce some of that stuff onto your, I sound like a real old person when I say stuff like that.
You sound like me.
Take some of that, put it on your Instagram stories, see what people think about these areas in your neck of the woods. And if people agree that they're overvalued, undervalued, or where they sit on this scale. But very interesting article. They're predicting that some of these rates could fall 5 to 7% or 5 to 10%, actually.
I mean, think about that though. 73% overvalued. It drops down to 60%. Oh, okay. We're still way overvalued. And I think are charts like this and numbers like this going to hurt? Okay, if you sell in California, are you going to go to more? Okay, I'm going to go to Pine Bluff. Is it Pine Bluff?
You're not going to move from California to Pine Bluff.
No, I'm just saying I'm going to go to a 4% overvalue or Petaluma or something, to where it's not, I can still get something affordable and not be overpaying for things. But
This Week in Tech is in Petaluma. It's one of my favorite podcasts.
Julie Moon says, is that Nashville and purple over in the South?
You know what? I already went to the next article, but let me look.
That's okay. Nashville. We don't need to help. Julie's only helping us with 87 views from one computer. So
All right. So the hottest parts in Tennessee: Nashville, Davidson, Murfreesboro, and Franklin, Tennessee is 48%. Yeah.
Oof. Yeah.
Jackson, Tennessee at 20%. This is a very long state. Chattanooga is at 34 and Knoxville's at 38.
That was such a, how do you say it, Ray? A train of thought statement. Such a long state.
I mean, you start going over and over and over. All right. So basically what they're predicting in that article, they also mentioned that CoreLogic thinks that home prices in a lot of those same areas are about 65% overvalued. So they're not the only ones to find the overvalued. Question is, what is overvalued? If people are willing to pay it, how do they determine what overvalue is, undervalue? That's another story. But what we do know is that once, we've got 12 comments on the YouTube. Sorry, guys. I've been missing some of your comments on there.
Idaho.
Ray is the Johnny Depp of YouTube.
Does that make me Amber Heard?
Or the attorney?
Oh, there you go. I'm the attorney.
Yeah. Just keep asking me if you're reading that right.
Yeah, you reading that?
Yeah.
Do you want to object to that, Johnny?
You continue to read that right. That's my best Johnny Depp impersonation.
You have to add a little bit of English that you continue to read that right.
Yeah, for no reason either.
I think he did a lot of drugs while doing Pirates of the Caribbean, and I think it kind of just put a couple different personalities together. Love that. Right. By the way, Team Johnny.
Team Johnny.
Yeah.
You continue to read that right. All right, so let's talk about Office Space. Office Space comes roaring back as stocks in the space play catch up.
Can I get my I just need my stapler.
Yeah, Office Space.
My stapler real quick.
Great show.
I just need
All right, if you're not back in the office already, you will be soon. Are you back in the office? You go to the office much? The real estate office?
I've never gone to a real estate office. I hate real estate offices.
I mean, I had an office and nobody went to it, so I don't have it anymore. Nobody went to it ever. I mean, they did when we first started, but then nobody came there. So like, why have it?
They're fun at first, like, oh my God, the energy's still great here. And then people go, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't want to get up and go to the office. If you're not back in the office already, you may be soon. After a 5-month lull, likely due to extremely contagious Omicron variant of the coronavirus.
Oh, God.
We say that weird on purpose, guys. But we don't want to be censored. A new demand for office spaces jumped in March. Barring another major setback in the pandy, it will likely continue to rise. But offices themselves will undergo a makeover as demand from workers have changed. I thought that was perhaps the most interesting part of this article, that they didn't really dive into a whole lot. But you remember when everyone was enamored with total open office space?
Yeah, WeWork was going crazy, and
yeah,
all your buddies are there, and they had bean bags and foosball everywhere, and then the Rona hit.
Yeah, and I think along with that, people's expectations of exactly what they wanted in an office also changed. Oh, wait, breaking news.
Yep,
breaking. I don't have a breaking news sounder. Let's go with this one. Matt LaMarche, Atlanta real estate agent, says breaking: Fed raises key rate by 0.5 point. Whoa. In a bid to tame inflation.
Key rate. So right now, if I was pre-approved for 5, now my rate is 5.5%, Ray?
Dan, it doesn't
like right now
that way.
But the Fed raised the rate, Ray?
Yeah, raise the rate. The Fed did raise the rate, but that is the rate that banks can exchange money to each other for. That is not necessarily the rate at which they will give to you. But is this going to result in an increase in rates for consumers? Most likely.
Sure.
Tracking the 10-year yield. So thank you for the breaking news, Matt LaMarche. We really appreciate you. All right. So back on this article, speaking of office space, the office vacancy rate in the first quarter this year was down 18 basis points from a year ago to 18.1%, according to Moody's Analytics. It's the sector's first annual decline in 5 years and marked improvement from the vacancy rate of 18.5. This is a quote from Nick Romito. He's the CEO of VTS. Demand for office space this month is more in line with what we expect to see this time of year. Looking ahead, I expect that we will continue to see demand ebb and flow in a typical seasonal pattern. But to really get out of the prolonged period of depressed demand we've seen as of late, we'll need to see demand exceed seasonal norms over the course of many months. So it looks like offices are roaring back. Question is, are people going to roar back into them? Are they going to be excited about getting back into their office? Are they going to want their own little private office and say no to the open co-work space that we've?
Are they going to look for other job opportunities that will let them work from home? So I have friends that work for different spots, but there's usually like a when it was you can work from home, they had a caveat on it. You can work from home, but you got to be within so far of the office, 50 miles. One friend is 200 miles away. So they moved. And now they're saying everyone has to come back to the office unless you signed the work from home agreement and you stayed. If you moved outside of 200 miles, then you might be in trouble. But they stayed within, they were like 193 miles away or something. But so
what about all the people that moved to the second home markets, making it their first home, saying, well, hey, I can work from anywhere now. I'm going to work from the beach. Are they going to be out of luck? Or are they going to be moving back into the cities?
And I would say, so for more of the digital workspace where the production happens, I think this is how we had the conversation originally. Like, what's going to happen from it's great. Everyone loves working from home, but is productivity going to stay the same? You know, are the widgets still going to be pushed through the assembly line? Right. So I think the biggest question is do you have to physically be somewhere to get these widgets to be moved? Or are you, because I have a lot of friends in the video game industry and, you know, the electronics kind of industry, and they're doing great from home. The product still gets pushed through. They don't physically need to be anywhere to yell at anyone. You can yell at people through AIM.
Now, Zoom has made that
Zoom.
popular.
Yeah. Sorry, not AIM.
You can even be laid off through Zoom.
You can even be laid off that way, but you know, there's a better way to do that. There you go, Matt. Boom. So, is it going to be, you know, like I said, is it going to be, we should stay home from work? Is the productivity still there? Are they mandating you to come back? You know, so I think
it's a wait and see situation.
It's a wait and see situation. It really is. And I'm interested in this one specifically. We don't talk about it on the show a lot, but I watch a lot of this kind of office spacey stuff to see what people are doing. Cause it's interesting because I've always worked remotely. I just prefer it. I don't like to be around people if I don't have to, but what if people got super comfortable in the last 2 years and now they have to go back to the office?
Or they have to now sell their house in a secondary market. Is that going to make those more attractive to the Airbnb investors that popped up over the last 3 years?
Yeah.
What is going to happen? You know who's not coming back to work? A lot of employees for Mr. Cooper. Not to out them specifically, but we have been tracking this in the mortgage sector. But Mr. Cooper lays off workers as originations nosedive. So Mr. Cooper is one of the largest mortgage originators in the world. They laid off 250 employees in the first quarter. The company faced declines in earnings from loan originations, and the company is forecasting a few tough origination quarters ahead. This is a quote from a spokesperson for Mr. Cooper Group, who is, they don't name the person. The article is in housing.
Spokesperson. Right.
Just a spokesperson.
Yeah.
While the mortgage industry experienced record high origination volumes in recent years and resources were scaled up to meet the consumer demand, the industry now faces higher interest rates, leading to lower origination volume. This is a non-story, but that's why we're talking about it, is because it's a non-story. You're going to see headlines like this combined with the other headlines of the mortgage industry laying people off, saying, oh, is the mortgage industry in trouble? No, they're just adjusting their workforce according to the current demand. This is what
there was a huge boom. I mean, huge boom. And it was mostly refis. And that's the sector that, you know, are being set back. I mean, there's a huge boom. Refis were insane for 2 years.
Right. And they had to hire people to keep up with all this stuff, processors and, you know, everybody.
Yeah.
So now they're just adjusting the workforce.
Right. And I didn't pull anything from this article, but how they said it, right? We're going to adjust our future need for employees. Essentially, we're going to really look at that. But I mean, I can ask that question. Like, what is this a surprise to people? Like, if you were brought on, like,
not to me, but that's because I pay attention to This Week in Real Estate, hosted by the Bearded Men of Real Estate.
Thank you. So if you're brought on as a seasonal employee in October or November, do you expect to have a job after January or February?
If you really prove yourself, Dan, you might replace somebody.
Well, that's what I did a lot. I had a job where I went on to be a manager of a toy store and all that stuff.
Like, that's what I did last year.
That's what I did last year. Outside of real estate, I wanted to prove that I could.
He loves his Halloween Express gig.
Yeah. I just move around store to store. They become something different every season. But anyway, Like, is this a surprise if you were brought on, or were you brought on like, hey, we're booming right now, everything's going to be awesome for the foreseeable future? Oh yeah, about that. It's not awesome anymore.
What if the judge just removes all your commission for doing the work that you already do, Dan? Luckily, that won't happen yet. We talked about this last week. We talked about the NAR versus Barnett and the other person I can't remember. This is
or something.
Yeah, this is a different case. So this is unlike the two federal cases that claim the seller costs are inflated by commission sharing. New Jersey home buyers lawsuit argued that buyers were the ones who were unfairly impacted. This one has not been successful for this buyer. The suit alleged that sharing of commissions between listing and buyer brokers is a conspiracy and restraint of trade violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act for inflating buyer costs in the form of higher home prices, which, quote, bake in commissions. It's called the Leader, Leeder suit. It's different from other antitrust commission suits filed against the same defendants in that the others, Moral, which is, that's the one in Indiana, and Sitzer Burnett, allege that commission sharing inflates seller cost. Wood is the same judge overseeing the Moral case. That's interesting.
What, the judge?
Yeah, the judge is the same one as the Moral case.
I mean, isn't that a good thing?
Well, it's the other side of the coin, though. So it doesn't necessarily translate into any different type of decision for Moral, I would say.
No.
It's basically saying that buyers do not see increased cost from this.
But I think they would regret winning this, because then they'd have to pay the commission. They'd have to pay
the buyer.
The buyer would have to pay to have representation. If they don't want representation, that's another conversation.
Here's the we've already read the stuff that the National Association of Realtors kind of put out. It's similar to what they said on the last one. The court agrees that this is from Wood, her decision.
Yeah.
The court agrees that home sellers, as the direct purchaser of buyer broker services, are necessarily more directly injured by defendants.
I pulled that one. That's an interesting statement. The court agrees
that could be foreshadowing.
Are necessarily more directly injured. I mean, she states that they're necessarily more.
Yeah.
Is that a foreshadowing of what her decision is going to be on the other one?
The Moral case?
Yeah.
Wood said she thought it was unlikely that Leader would be able to plead adequately that he's a direct purchaser of buyer broker services.
So this leads me to have the question of, like, let's say this did go further, or the other one does go further. Is this going to open up something where, as a buyer, you have the option? So, is it going to be more standardized? I guess I could ask it that way. Because right now you can go into a transaction unrepresented, right? As a buyer or a seller.
Yeah. But you could totally not get any representation at all.
But you can go into that and you don't have to pay a thing. I mean, if this were to move forward, where the seller only pays the listing agent, and now it's all right. Well, on the buy side, you have the option. It's going to cost you this much for representation. You can finance that. You can out of pocket it, whatever it is. You can add it to your purchase price, or you can go in unrepresented. And here are the risks. Is that where this is leading?
Yeah, it's the argument that Charlie Lee, that's the guy's name that is bringing this. I think that's the guy's name that's bringing the case. Hang on. Who's Lee?
The buyer one?
Yeah, let me. Okay. At NAR's mid-year conference, Charlie Lee is the NAR's counsel director of legal affairs.
Yeah.
All right. So he said that this was good news. And he said NAR will continue to argue that local broker marketplaces serve the best interests of consumers, listing brokers, and making offers of compensation give first-time, middle, and low-income buyers an increased shot at home ownership, which is kind of what they're saying.
And representation.
Right. Regarding the Stitzer Burnett case that just got the class action lawsuit and the Moral case, Lee goes on to say, we'll be making similar arguments as in the Stitzer case. We'll be adamant in our position that home sellers are simply different from each other, and that the named plaintiffs couldn't serve as adequate representations, that certification is inappropriate. The class certification is what we're talking about now. Now, just to recap, the class certification kind of lumps all of these home sellers in the Missouri marketplace together, and they're looking for $1 billion in damages in the Stitzer Burnett case. And I actually read the judge's statement, the whole thing. I don't know. I got real interested in it. I actually read the whole thing, and there's a lot of agents saying, I should put this out on the YouTubes.
Yeah, I thought you did a video about this, or we're going to.
Yeah, I actually wrote an article, but in doing the research for the article, I read way more. But a lot of agents are saying like, oh, well, the contract is between the agent and the seller, and the buyer is not in there, and each contract is individual and different. That argument, I don't know that people are saying that's why it's not going to go anywhere. But if you read the judge's opinion, it doesn't have to be exact. It has to be similar in the types of damages and the legal theory. It doesn't have to be exact. And because of that, if they maintain that class action status, I think it would not go in NAR's way. So if you want to read the whole thing, it's out there. You can. I read the whole thing, and the arguments that all the real estate agents and talking heads are making around the country who've been doing real estate for a long time, it seems like a shallow argument compared to what the legal precedent is on this stuff.
So Olivier Maurice on Clubhouse says, imagine this: multiples, one buyer unrepresented, so the seller commission, and buyer represented with the commission paid, both offer at the same price. The represented buyer is at a disadvantage.
No. You assume that because the buyer is represented that the commission structure is different, but that's not always the case.
Well, and also, as a seller, do I really want to go in to a huge event like that with an unrepresented buyer?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like the people that are like, well, the buyer with representation is at the disadvantage. No. Because you actually have somebody that's a negotiator on your behalf.
Right.
People that say, well, the buyer's at a disadvantage because it's changes in commission structure because there's only one side of the transaction. No, that's not what it says in the contract. In our real estate contract, I charge a fee, and then I get to decide to split that fee with the buying agent. So just because there's a buying agent or no buying agent does not change the listing agent fee. And maybe this has got to be a state by state situation. And maybe that's why they're kind of taking it state by state, but we'll be diving into this more and more. As I said last show, we'll be diving into this more and more as we go. Any thoughts on that real quick? Yeah, go ahead, Shawnee.
I was going to say, I have to definitely agree with you. It doesn't change the fee that they've agreed before that goes on the market, right? They sign an agreement.
Yeah. That's
between the broker. So it makes no sense to me. And the thing is, with the lawsuits, I mean, you don't have to use an agent, right? You don't have to. So to me, it's crazy. It's a service that you can choose. So how is that, in any way, antitrust? It doesn't make any sense to me. You don't have to. Just sell on your own if you want.
Right.
So that boggles my mind.
Yeah, you can always sell on your own. You don't have to agree to the contract. So yeah, I think there's some strong points. I'm not saying, I'll back up a little bit. I'm not saying that the people that are the talking heads that are saying like, hey, I've been doing this years and this has always come up and here's how we've gotten around it. I'm not saying that they're dumb. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just saying that what they're sharing on social media is the rallying cry for all agents to get behind. And that's true. What they're saying is true, but it may not hold up as a legal precedent moving forward. So that's where what we're saying and what we're acting has to match the contracts and agreements in place. And what we're saying has to match what we do in the marketplace. Because if you, as a buyer's agent, run around saying, hey, I'm free, then you're already in violation of so much stuff. Speaking of new agents and people getting in a lot of trouble, the Great Resignation leads to a real estate rush.
And Ray, I have a sound effect for us.
Yeah.
But go ahead. I'll tell you when I'm going to play.
Since the pandemic began, the Great Resignation has taken root as people left their jobs. Many of them apparently shifted to careers in real estate.
You ready?
Yeah. From January 21st to January 2002, the trending career search was how to become a real estate agent. There you go. So yeah, we are seeing an influx in real estate agents. However, I just saw an article the other day that real estate, the membership of the National Association of Realtors has actually gone down. So where are these people who are becoming agents? Where are they going? The CEO of Coldwell Banker Real Estate told Fortune, I think many people have gone through the journey over the past number of years are now exploring, I'll call it self-employment, and perhaps the kind of role that is both flexible and knows no boundaries except of the mind. He didn't add that. I added that part.
On the fly editing.
He said, and there is no more boundaryless role than the real estate agent. So we literally have real estate agents with the same license that anyone could obtain over the next few months who enjoy an income of 7 and 8 figures because they've realized that they can get out of what they get out of it, what they put into it. That's true.
That's what I always explain to people that come to me and ask, hey, should I get into real estate? First of all, I go, no, don't do that. Please don't do that.
Quit while you're ahead.
Right. Don't do that. There's too many, and in California, it's an insane amount of number. And I think I've always said, if 95% of us quit this industry and the 5% that actually care about being an agent and care about doing the right thing, I think we'd be way better off. But
that's the 5% that are actually closing transactions too.
Right. And I also say, hey, but if you do, you got to remember, this job is the definition of what you put into it, you will get out of it. If you half-ass it, you're going to get half-assed results and so on.
Yeah. And a lot is to be said for the education of real estate agents. You have agents running these big companies that are just kind of clearing houses. If you can breathe or fog a mirror, you can join us. That's always the danger.
Fog a mirror. Can you fog a mirror? Then join us at Keller Williams.
or any large brokerage.
Any large brokerage that farm agents for their agent counts.
Jesus.
Sorry, I'm trying to get canceled, Ray. I'm trying to get canceled. That'll get us more views.
Yeah. Just talk about Gary Keller. All right. Speaking of education of your clients. Speaking of education of your clients, 65% of buyers said they would make an offer within 3 days. Home buyers realize they need to be quick with the offers.
Is that surprising to you?
It's surprising to me that the number is actually so high. I thought it would be like, if you were to ask me yesterday, what percentage of buyers say they would be ready to make an offer within 3 days? I probably would have said like 40%. So I was surprised that it was so high.
I would have guessed in this range. I may even guessed higher. Now I'm in California though, where things go very quickly and everyone kind of knows it, and buyers feel that pinch. So I would say it was higher, would be my opinion. So 65 seems kind of reasonable to me.
Yeah. And of course it's all kind of related to the higher mortgage rates, the competition in the market. The little article on the Realtor magazine covers all that stuff. Home buyers also show a willingness to compromise to move towards home ownership, including moving to an up and coming neighborhood. 82% said that instead of hot now.
Petaluma, up and coming neighborhood.
Buying a home further from entertainment, restaurants and shopping. Again, Petaluma, right?
Yeah.
79% said they're willing to do that.
Next year, we're going to see an overinflated number on Petaluma, California. You watch the signs.
Just because of the show. Buying a smaller home, 71% they'd be willing to do that. And foregoing outdoor space, 70% said they'd be willing to do that. So buyers are making compromises and they're ready to put in offers faster than ever before.
Yeah, I don't think this is super surprising. What does it say on there? It
Not
says,
surprising, but interesting.
Interesting, and it says on there days on market are at 17 or 18 days.
Yeah,
now.
17 days on market average, which is kind of
a big, and it was a big percentage was under 100 or under 30 days on market. So
yeah. Okay, and we covered this a couple months ago, and it's been settled, so I feel the need to mention it. Redfin settles the digital redlining case. Redfin agreed to pay $4 million. They settled out of court.
They didn't admit guilt. They settled.
No, as a matter of fact, the very last quote from Redfin was, "Redfin hasn't broken the law, and we continue to stand behind our business practices," the company said in a statement. "We recognize that there is as much to be done for housing to make housing fair and reverse decades of inequality, and we continue to do our part." So what were they doing? They were offering limited service according to basically home prices in specific areas. Well, just in any area.
And there was a firm or something. What is it?
Listen, Redfin has admitted no wrongdoing. The lawsuit has brought 2020, the fair housing. Wow, it's been that old. I feel like this was just yesterday. Yeah. The Fair Housing Allegiance.
There you go.
Was the people that brought the suit, along with 9 other fair housing organizations nationwide. The NFHA alleged that communities of color received fewer services and discounts from Redfin than home buyers and sellers of predominantly white areas due to something they call digital redlining. The real estate had in its place a minimum price limit. The company would not make a full range of its services available to properties below the certain limit. That included real estate agents, professional photos, property promotion. The lawsuit alleges that the limit to limit disproportionately affected homes in minority communities. So what they do, they paid $4 million. How did they change their business practices? They agreed to end its minimum price limits policy.
Okay, but
the real estate company said it would use price thresholds. I can't make this up.
It's really happened.
Use price thresholds to determine whether to connect buyers and sellers with a Redfin broker, or that it would allow Redfin to manage the agent capacity. That would allow Redfin to manage the capacity, as it tends to field more requests than it can meet.
And then also they're going to launch a monitoring.
So they're using price thresholds. Oh yeah. There's a monitoring alert system now, which will identify the minimum price points in communities of color exceed those in the majority white neighborhoods.
So it's not a price-based policy, Ray. It's a price
threshold policy to determine whether to connect buyers and sellers with Redfin brokers.
Isn't that the same thing?
What?
Isn't that the same business model?
Yeah, aren't you changing your services based on exactly why they're suing you? Well, that's it, kids. That's the news.
My prediction is they're going to keep going down this path, and they're going to get themselves into some more hot water where they can't settle their way around it.
Yeah. I feel like, you're just playing semantics now. I feel like, oh, okay, we won't do digital redlining using minimum price, but we'll use a price threshold. What's the difference? But they're still offering the services. It's just whether or not they connect you with a Redfin broker. Well, who are they going to connect you with? Are they connect you with some other agent?
Yeah, a Remax agent or.
Well, they do that. There's not a lot of Redfin agents here, so they have referral agreements in place.
But what is the difference between a price threshold and
minimum price?
Minimum pricing. Doesn't that mean the same thing? It's just.
We'll see the math on it, I guess, eventually. Well, thanks so much for everyone for joining us. If you're in Clubhouse, go up to the little greenhouse up there, click that, and be sure you're following the Real Estate Networking Club. Also, all these moderators that are up here that kind of help us run the show, do some stuff behind the scenes, invite people up, make sure if your hand's raised, you get an opportunity to come hang out.
Or decline people coming up. We had a good declination today, which they shared in our, Julie shared in our Be More chat.
In the chat. Okay, thank you very much for that. So be sure you follow those people, because if they have a little green dot, those are legit people that have contributed to the show. Happy anniversary, Crypto Bella. I see you there. This is your 1-year anniversary on Clubhouse. So welcome. It's got the little balloon by you. You can find us on Clubhouse. You can search my name or Dan's name, and you can find us there and follow us, and you'll be alerted to whatever rooms that we join. There's a lot of great rooms in the Real Estate Networking Club. Also, Shane's got a great club that has myriad of rooms there. Then if you're on YouTube, be sure you subscribe, hit the bell, jump down into the comments, have a discussion after the show. We like to see that get pretty ruckus.
Yeah, and share it with anyone you think might get value from this. If it's good for your clients or other real estate professionals, please let them know. Please share it. That would be amazing.
We do the show for all the feedback and discussion, and also just kind of keeps us on our toes. So
we welcome it. We absolutely welcome it. Just like Couch Gang 2019. We welcome it.
Couch Gang was amazing.
What kind of show is this?
So thank you guys for joining us. Dan, could you tell people where they can find you?
just don't find me. I don't. It's down every bot. D lettered rocks. I honestly don't care. I just don't care.
He's gonna log off.
Tango down. Tango down. If you want to follow me, that's great. It's just awesome. But don't.
This is reverse psychology. You're gonna get so many people following you now because of the reverse psychology of the don't follow.
Ray, stop. You're giving away my strategy. But just don't. I don't care. Social media is insane to me. I don't understand it. I don't care. I'm ranting. I get that. But if you really want to, it's D lettered rocks right there down at the bottom. I post a whole bunch of madness.
Pretty much.
It's mostly just stuff that falls out of my brain. But if you want really, really solid, legit, on point real estate content, Ray, where can they find you?
Yeah, they can find me at Ray Zorback. That's RayZorback. Everywhere good Razorbacks are sold. It's open for everyone. I want everyone to follow me. If you could breathe the fog and mirror, be sure you hit the follow button. Sorry. Go to the total opposite direction.
We both said the same thing, just in different. That was an amazing troll that we did there, Ray. Good job, buddy.
Good. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We really appreciate it, and we will see you guys next week. Bye, y'all.